guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary and high school age. Today I'm going to be sharing all about kind of my relationship with technology and the changes that I have been making in 2024. So let's get started. Okay guys, so I wanted to sit down and kind of have a little bit of a chat with you guys about technology and what my thoughts around technology have been lately. And this is really relating to my Rhythms of Renewal goal for my 2024 goals. I have been using this book by Rebecca Lyons, Rhythms of Renewal, to kind of help guide me as I go through what I want my life to be like. What are the rhythms that I want to have in my home, in my family? What are the things that I gravitate towards? What are the things that I want to adjust? It's been a really interesting experience. And one of the first chapters in this book is all about a tech detox, and it's all about silencing the noise. This is chapter 2, and it's really at the very, very beginning of the rest rhythm in this book. And so when I read this back when it came out, I think in 2019, and I've reread it a couple of times over the past year, really trying to formulate my ideas about what a rhythm of renewal means to me. It really impacted me as I was thinking about my 2024 goals and what I want out of life. Now, one of the things that I've been working on this year is to not be so tied to a to-do list. And that's kind of an interesting experience for me because I am such a planner and I love to have a to-do list. I like to stay busy. I like to stay on top of things. I like to organize. I like to declutter. I like those big projects. But what I found is that I'm not taking as much time for recreation in my life. I tend to default to my to-do list, to working on a project, to work tasks. And while that's not a bad thing, and I think that there's a lot of good that can come from that, I don't want to constantly be working. I want to be able to enjoy my life as well. And not that I wasn't enjoying my life before, but I recognized that I was defaulting to all of these work tasks. I wouldn't default to sitting down and doing a puzzle with my kids, or sitting down and reading for enjoyment during the day, or knitting, or working on a sewing project, or scrapbooking, or memory keeping, or any of that stuff. Instead, I would default to, let's organize my office closet, let's go through the homeschool books, let's work on, decluttering the master bathroom. All of those things are really valuable, but if I'm constantly working and not taking any time to do enjoyable things, it's just not as much fun. And so this year I really have been recognizing where I may have margin in my day that I fill it with work tasks, and it doesn't always have to be. And it's kind of hard to say as a mom because you kind of feel like you need to continuously be working. There's so many things to do. You're never going to be done with that to-do list. And so it was something that I recognized and I wanted to change. And then when I read the tech detox section of this book again, I realized that a lot of my usage of technology centers around work tasks as well. And I don't want to default to that. Now, my experience may be different, and it most likely is different than a lot of people. And that is my experience, just like your experience is your experience. So that's what I'm just sharing. So don't think that I'm saying you have to do these things. I'm not. I'm just kind of sharing my own experience, and take what works for you and disregard the rest. So as I started considering technology, I recognized a few different things. The first is that I probably since, I don't know, whenever Instagram changed their algorithm, changed to an algorithm from a chronological snapshot of pictures, when it became more curated, it rubbed me the wrong way because I am a rebel on Gretchen Rubin's 4 Tendencies. And when somebody tells me that I have to do something a certain way, I automatically don't want to do that at all. And it bothered me that there was an algorithm telling me how I should interact with the people that I followed or the people that I didn't follow at all. And so I pretty much stopped using Instagram for a while. I would still randomly post things, but not very often. And I just stopped looking at Instagram. It wasn't important to me. However, as an online business owner, it is an important thing. Social media is important, but even that, it rubs me the wrong way, and I don't want to do the things the way that people tell you you ought to do things. It's a real challenge to be a business owner and not do things traditionally the way that they're supposed to be done. But over the past few years, I've noticed that I have gravitated more towards using social media for my business and everything. One of those things is I run a Facebook group for Maine homeschoolers called the Maine Homeschool Network. And I took over that group in 2018. There were like 100 members in the group. It was not an active group on Facebook. And I've built it up to about 7,000 members, which is amazing. But it takes so much time to monitor and answer questions and admin a Facebook group. So I realized that when I had margin in my day, my default became checking my Facebook group. And it may be that I have a lot of comments that I have to go through. It may be that I have a lot of questions that I have to go through. And I was using so much time for checking my Facebook group, it would just snowball. And I would start to answer a couple of questions, and then an hour would go by and I would realize, okay, we've got to move to the next thing in our homeschool or in our day or whatever we're doing. And I've just used that entire time answering questions. Now, I know that it's important for me to continue monitoring the Facebook group and answering questions. That's why I have it. That's why I have continued to use this Facebook group, but it does not need to control my life. And recognizing that it kind of was controlling my life, because I always thought, oh, I should check and see if anybody needs anything. And then I spend hours of the day doing that. And so several weeks ago, I realized that I needed to change some things. The first thing that I did was to shut off all of the notifications on my phone. And that was something that was kind of interesting, because I have been turning off notifications probably over the past 18 months. I will, see, why am I constantly getting notifications 3 times a day from Domino's Pizza? Because I haven't ordered a pizza lately. I do not need to get a notification on my phone because of that. I don't need to get a notification every time a new email comes in, because when that notification comes in, I automatically think I need to deal with this right now. When my phone dings, when my watch goes off, I say, oh, what is that thing? I need to check it right now. And that is such a distraction, and it's not necessary. And so as I started to recognize how notifications were kind of a thing that I was able to manage some of the time, but not all of the time, I realized I wanted to just take a hard break from notifications. And so I turned all of the notifications off. And it was really weird when I first did that. I have written about this over on my website as well. I will leave some links in the description box if you're interested in seeing that. But when I turned those notifications off, I had to actively go into the apps to check for what was going on. I was just not getting any notifications. I didn't know if people were asking questions in the Facebook group, didn't know if people were sending me messages on Instagram. I didn't know if I was getting emails. And for a little while, I was constantly checking my phone to look for those notifications. It took me several weeks before I stopped picking my phone up to look for notifications that weren't there. It was like this phantom need to check and see if I had a notification. Even though I knew that I shut the notifications off, I was still checking to see if I had a notification, of which of course I didn't. And so then I kind of needed to come up with a process or a system or routine of how to deal with that online aspect of my business. And I ended up going through the routines workbook from Cultivate What Matters. I did this in my membership community. We took a full week and I had videos each day of the week going through how I was going to create a communications routine so that I had specific time during the day to answer emails and questions, etc. And it was kind of a funny thing to me because even when I worked as an accountant, when things came in on my email, when I had to do cost accounting, which is a lot of what I was doing, I needed to do these costs. I had to fill out all of these forms immediately. There was not a lag time for me. There was not a time that I could turn around where I would say, okay, I'm going to do costs at 3:00. I would have to do it immediately. And as I've, read a lot about habits, read a lot about time management over the past 10, 12 years, I realized that that is not an efficient use of my time. Even though my bosses at the time felt it was very necessary for me to do those costs as soon as I would get an email request from a salesperson to do that, it was a poor use of my time because it was pulling me outside of another project to work on something that, it didn't take me too long, but the transition time between doing the costing and then going back to what I was doing before, whatever project I was working on before, it took so much time for me to shift my focus. And that's the same as it is for me today. If I have a few minutes in my day and I shift my focus away from homeschooling my kids during my homeschool block to do a chore, to check something online, to answer a question or an email or answer a phone call, it takes my entire brain outside of the homeschooling that I should be doing during that block of time. And to get back into the homeschooling block, it takes a little bit of time for me to shift, my brain to shift. And I realized that I don't want to do that. I have specific blocks of time during my day where I'm doing specific tasks. And because of that, I realized, okay, if I take these notifications, this time that I need to communicate with members of my Facebook group or, my members in my membership community or answering questions or comments on YouTube or from my website, I don't have to do that as soon as the question comes in. And it took me a little while to understand that and to kind of make the adjustments. And so what I've done now is create times in my day where I am actually focused on those things. And is it perfect yet? No. I just finished that routines workbook up in February. March is the month where I'm trying to implement this new routine that I've come up with. And then as an aside for my routine, I am coming up with some other things that I can do in the margin time throughout my day. And those are more recreation type things that I always put off until my to-do list is done. But if you remember from the beginning of the video, your to-do list never actually seems done. So understanding that I am able to take time during the day to do enjoyable things was a little bit of a learning curve for me. Understanding that I don't have to immediately respond to people was also another learning curve because I want to help people. I want to help people with their homeschool journeys. I find so much value in that. I want to encourage other homeschool moms. It's really important to me. It's why I do what I do. But understanding that it does not have to be instant is something that it's a behavior that I'm trying to unlearn, that instant access. And so the tech detox chapter in this Rhythms of Renewal book has been so helpful for me to understand that I don't have to allow instant access to me. It's it's creating boundaries and understanding that boundaries are not bad. And it doesn't mean that I'm not helping people. It just means that I am taking the time when I am able to help people instead of trying to give instant access to myself. So I shut off notifications. It took me a long time to stop checking my phone constantly for notifications that were not there. I guess it's been maybe 6 weeks at this point, and I'm just now really not picking up my phone, not looking at my watch to see if I have a notification, of which I do not. So it's really been an interesting experience. And I wanted to share it with you because I find it interesting that we have gone from a place where when I was in school, all growing up, we had a phone at our house. We did have an answering machine. We never had voicemail until I was in college. But if I wasn't there, if I called a friend and they weren't there, I would either leave a message on the answering machine or I would call back later. It was not something where I was able to get an instant answer from anybody. It was never that way. And so why is it that now we assume that we should have instant access to people or that we need people to have instant access to us? So it's been a really interesting exploration for me on technology because I really did feel as though I didn't use technology all that much. I'm not constantly looking at social media. I don't have Snapchat. I don't have TikTok. I do watch Reels on Instagram, but even that, I have a specific part of the day where I will sit down and give myself 20 to 30 minutes of time where I'm just scrolling because it's a break and it's something that I enjoy doing, but it's not something that I pick up constantly. And so I didn't really feel like I had a problem with technology. But as I took a step back and recognized how I'm using technology within my business or what I do in those margin times during the day when I don't have enough time to do maybe a project or work on something specific and I just have a few minutes of time, I would automatically go into Facebook or go into YouTube or go into Instagram and start answering questions or look at my emails or send out some emails. And I don't think that that's necessary. And I wanted to kind of take back some of my time. I wanted my time during the day, those margin times, to bring me joy instead of bring more work. And so after I came up with my communication routine, which if you're interested in seeing what that is, I have all those videos over on my membership community. I would love for you to come check them out. I walk through everything. Once I had my communication routine, I realized that I still needed something to fill those margin times so that I wouldn't default to going on the internet. And so I have kind of come up with a list of a few things that I can do during those margin times. And a lot of it is easy knitting projects, some fun like journaling. I've shifted some of my morning routine stuff into those margin times so that if I have a few minutes, I'm not trying to start a huge project, but I could knit a few rows of a scarf or dish rags. I could read a chapter in a book that I want to read. I could do a little bit of journaling, focused journaling for my kids or, gratitude journal or something like that. And I'm not defaulting to the internet. So I wanted to just share this. I know it's not necessarily something for everybody. Not everybody deals with technology the way that I do. Not everybody feels that it's an issue, and that's totally fine. But it is something that has been weighing on me because I was recognizing that I would try and work more, or I would fill my time with helping others instead of doing something enjoyable for myself, instead of sitting down with my kids and working on a puzzle or playing a game or reading a book that I want to read other than after everybody goes to bed. So it was just it was just an interesting shift in thinking for me, and I did want to share it with you. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to hear if you have made any adjustments to your technology usage lately. I feel like over the past several years, it's been really interesting because, we went through this whole phase of time where we didn't connect with people in person at all. And so all of our relationships turned online. And I think that may have fed into why I had been making the decisions that I have been making lately with technology, and how I wanted to change that and just manage it differently. So I would love to hear what your relationship with technology is. I did recently read The Tech Wise Family again by Andy Crouch. I think that's a great book on technology usage and how it relates to your kids and your family dynamic overall. So it's been an interesting experience. I've really enjoyed this exploration. It's a huge deep dive for me into technology, what I find value in, what I don't find value in, why I would choose to do things that I don't find value in constantly. It's just been an interesting experience, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have questions about anything that I chatted about, or you want me to clarify better, because I know this was kind of just like me just chatting with you all, let me know in the comments, or you can email me. My contact form is always in the description box. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.